Okay.
like me.
Okay.
The surveyor
Okay.
is on that, which makes sense when you're talking about land use planning. And then there's a commissioner. So
Wait, the surveyor would be
Emily Rodman.
Yeah, I'm just trying to use.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
so we know who we're talking about.
Yes,
Sorry,
Emily
sorry.
Rodman. And then a commissioner. So I believe the three of you decide together which one of you are going to do that. And I doubt you're fighting over it, right? Who's going to get to serve there. And then a county council person, which is that. And then others are appointed. And how are those appointed, Todd?
They are appointed by the commissioners.
Okay. Okay. All right. I just didn't know because a lot of times this is a board maybe that has not had a lot of, I guess, visual presentation, or I haven't, you don't know as much about this board maybe, maybe it doesn't, I don't know,
All right. I think it depends on what's going on. A few years ago, I can't remember the exact year, but when we were working on some other ordinances, there were several times when there were packed houses and things like that. But, once things aren't as high on the priority list, I would say, those kinds of meetings tend to not be as well attended, or, there's nothing as exciting going on, just the normal day-to-day kind of things that the commission does. So, so I understand why these ordinances would cause people to be concerned and to be vocal. I think that's part of why our local government is great, because we can hear from the people, and that's what that public hearing that's coming up on February 4th is all about.
So we're going to talk about that in just a second. Let's go back. Let's talk about zoning. Zoning's never been real popular.
Right.
So let's kind of explain a little bit. And this has been, I've heard, and we're going to do factor crap if you want to. Like, is it, I've heard 10 years this has been in the works. I've heard 14 years that we've studied this. Just give us what the information is on that.
Well, the first question people would ask is, how in the world could you work that many years on something? What in the world have you been doing? And actually, before I got on this board, I asked the same question of the current president of the Plan Commission Board, David Hoare, who was on the council. And I was, the funny thing about being a public servant is, you come into office once you're elected with all these great ideas, and you're energetic and enthusiastic, and you want to change this and you want to change that. And then when you get in office, you realize that you really just don't have a whole lot of wiggle room, because 90% of what counties try to do, 100% of it is dictated by the state of Indiana, and you just don't have a lot of room to do the things that you think you would like to do, and you find this out once you get in office. So back to David Hoare, and he did a great job. Danielle was on board then. We had some issues with, we were getting a lot of confined feeding operations coming in the county, poultry and hog operations, and I can let Danielle speak to that later, because that's kind of where it all started.
You mean people were upset about that?
Setbacks and things,
setbacks,
and why are they building a poultry operation right next to my house? Well, so I asked Mr. Hoare in a public meeting what was taking so long with getting this Plan Commission document wrapped up. And mind you, this was back in 2017, 18, and I didn't realize that he was so frustrated because they were trying to work on it, and he got very upset with me. In fact, he and I we weren't too chummy for a while, and we've always been friends. And then when I got on the board about a year or so later and realized how much work was involved, and trying to figure out what was fair to the people, and in trying to come up with a document or some ideas that were not so intrusive, because let's face it, I don't necessarily like rules, don't like a lot of regulations, but we have to have them sometimes. So after I had been on the board for a while, um, I got to feeling bad about the comment I made to David, getting on him about why there was no progress. And I called him up and I said, my eyes have been opened. I want to give you an apology because I had no idea what you were going through on this board in trying to come up with some rules that weren't overreaching and did not trample on people's property rights. And he appreciated it. And of course, we've always been friends, but sometimes family members and friends have little squabbles. But another reason it's taken quite a while to get this up is we've gone through different people who've been in the leadership position and maybe for one reason or another weren't steering us in the right direction. And I'm not saying that I'm doing a good job. I'm just trying to do what's right based on what those around me tell me they want. And then we went through a couple different consultants. Some had good ideas. Some I didn't think fit in with what the people of Washington County want. So sometimes it's difficult to, you have to look at both sides of things. Some people think we need much more stringent rules. Others think we don't need any, so we got to find a happy medium. And I think this document, except for maybe a few changes, and we do need to make a few minor changes to this, I think it's going to be a good thing for the county. And the main thing that it does, it protects people. And my job as a commissioner is basically one thing that I focus on, and that's the health, safety, and welfare of everybody in the county. Now, does that mean I'm going to make everybody happy all the time? No. But I am more than willing to talk to anyone at any given time. Anybody can call me anytime they want. I don't try to just hide my contact information, and I have had a lot of calls on this, and a lot of them are legitimate concerns. The bad thing is there has been so much misinformation, and I want to make sure I say this in the proper way because I don't want to be mean, but there has been a lot of misinformation. And of course, this is what we have today with social media. There's things that are being said that honestly just aren't true. And this is why I am looking forward to having this public hearing, because this is part of our process. We are 7-8% of the world population, and we are blessed to live in a country where people have the right to say as they wish and to speak their mind and to be involved in the process. And the only regret I have, and you can't turn back the clock and change anything because what's done is done, but over these past few months and years we've been working on this, I just wish we would have had more people show up at our meetings and get involved, so we weren't so much blindsided by a lot of this. It would have been very helpful to have more public input. Now, that being said, we're gonna take the situation we have now, and we're gonna make the best of it, and we're gonna do it in a very civil manner. We're gonna have discussions, and this public hearing is part of that. And I look forward to coming up with a solution to this document that is agreeable to the majority of the people in this county. Now, there won't be everyone who likes certain portions of this, but I do want to emphasize one thing, and I have to tell myself this quite often. It's not about what I want. It's not about what one individual wants who lives out here in the county. It's about your neighbors too. Your neighbors have rights. They don't want their rights trampled on. They want to live in a peaceful world under certain conditions that they expect, and people just need to respect other people's freedoms and rights, because it's not always about one particular issue. And like I say, there are some things in this document that we are going to tweak. We're going to change a little bit. Some of them we may just take out altogether. But this is part of the process of the public hearing, and I look forward to it. And I'm just glad we've reached this point where we can actually have people in the community who care enough to show up at a meeting and voice their opinion, and it will make our work and our job so much easier, because otherwise sometimes we just don't know what the public's thinking, and we work for the public. We're public servants. The only reason that I ever got involved in public service in the county is because I love this county, and I felt like the only way I could repay my debt to all the good things that this county has done for me is to try to serve. And I try to do that, and I try to engage with people and listen to what they have to say, so I can do the job that they expect me to do. And we have a wonderful board. I don't think we mentioned some of the non-required members. Of course, Danielle is required by law as an extension agent, and then Emily, the surveyor, and then myself and Andrew Davidson, and the appointed ones. We mentioned Marcia Daly and David Lyles, Andrew Cott, and Kevin Baird.
Okay. Lori Gilstrap.
Yeah.
Lori Gilstrap.
Lori Gilstrap.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So,
9 of us.
Okay. To jump in though, to find if it's been 10 years, 14 years, or however long that this has been going on, and for whatever reason, I mean, everybody's busy, honestly, and elected officials, we kind of elect you to do, and kind of, everybody's kind of got a lot going on, but it's brought to the attention now of the people, and we have some concerns. Is this a possibility now that we do have the community involved, which that's what you want? Would that be something that possibly this could be tabled, or an extension for this? Because February the 4th, I'm just thinking, you're going to hear what they have to say, and then you're going to have to come together and either possibly tweak or rewrite this. Is this something that can be moved? I think that's the part of it. Because you guys have the power, could vote it right on in, but I think the people want to be heard, and we know that there's a lot of knowledge in this community, and there's a lot of people that might have a great idea. Is that a possibility to table it, or maybe
we're not going to
extension?
table anything. The work will continue. We will continue on. We're not going to just stop and not continue to work on it. The work process part of it will continue. This might delay it for a short period of time, but we're not just going to stop working on this, so we're gonna.
Well, I meant like
We're gonna
make an extension, if you will, so that you can, the people, what they say can be, you know,
well, that's
can be.
that's what we're basically doing at the public hearing. We are hearing um, everyone's opinion on.
But I would think you as a group, then you would hear what I have to say, and then as a group you would come together and then talk about possibly this might work out better as a group. Then you would meet back together for that. And that's
there will be more meetings. Yes, if there won't be anything resolved.
But so this is okay. I'm just trying to figure. I just want people to know that I think that they're wondering if this is just going to get passed without their.
No, because
Yeah.
you know, we've been all working on this. Many of us for 5, 10 years, 12. That Danielle's been on the board too. So you know, the way we see it, you know, if it's a few more months, weeks, whatever. After we've invested so much time, we would like to make sure we have a document that's agreeable to the majority of the people. And if this pushes it back a little bit of time, then you know, it's not the end of the world. The main thing is that it's right.
Yeah, I think so. Now, okay, has there been a Purdue? Is this the Purdue extension? Is this the report? Or because I was told it was not the report, but I heard was there a lot of money that was spent to have it checked out from Purdue?
So.
And was that a grant, or how was that? Okay.
So Todd can help me with this, but you know, I work for Purdue Extension, and so and I work with the Plan Commission, so I would think that I would know if there was some sort of grant or some sort of agreement between Purdue and Washington County Plan Commission to do some sort of document or to write something for us, and I'm unaware of anything like that. Actually, I have asked other people to try to give me information about where I could find that, because I don't know. So at this point, I don't know of anything, and Todd, I don't think you do either.
You're making reference to a comment made by one of your guests on Monday about.
No. I was no. Others had said that it was actually I'm just wanting to know if it's true or not. You know, that Purdue was this a Purdue study that.
No.
Okay. Okay. Then did it come from Jackson County?
Portions of the ideas are, and it just so happens that the author of some of the document is from Jackson County. But you know, just to give you an idea what's in here and where it came from, a third of it or more, probably close to half of it, is simply existing rules and regulations, and a small portion of it is based on, maybe a third of it, what Jackson County has done, and the other portion is a former consultant that we had for, I don't know how long you had KK Gephardt, probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years.
Was he from?
She. Yeah, she helped us, and.
From where was she from?
I'm not. She lived in Central Indiana, I think, something like that. But she's a very well-known person who consults on these things, and so she's a professional.
Okay, no, I just no. It was not actually. Actually, it was another county employee that said that they were not. They were making reference that Purdue was very heavily involved in it. And there was some, you know, actually.
The only, I tried to think back many years, and the only thing that I could think of was back in 2016, the county was trying to update the comprehensive plan. They were trying to get some data together for a grant, and that's one thing I'm going to touch on just in a couple minutes too. And they approached IU, and IU, I think at the time, was going to charge us $30,000, $40,000. And somebody got a hold of Purdue, and at the time, the Economic Growth Partnership individuals were involved with this, and Sabrina Burdine was the director, and she got in touch with Purdue, and they did a very minor study on. It was mainly employment information, and I was shocked to find out that I think 65-70% of our county employees work outside of the county. It was, demographic data, things of that nature. That's the only study that I'm aware of that Purdue ever
Okay.
did.
Okay. Well, okay. And then some other questions that I have been asked. What about some of the areas? How like on the zoning? It seems like the Martinsburg and the Canton area are zoned a little different, a little more tighter than some of the others. How was that chosen? I think that was a big question. How is that determined?
So
Go ahead.
I'll start with this one, and then Todd can add if he wants to add anything else. But by the nature of the way that those towns were platted when they were originally established, they have much smaller parcel or lot sizes that are significantly different than the rest of the county, right? So, and so they need to be identified differently on the zoning map based upon what their use is. So you look at the zoning map and you see that the majority of our county is zoned, on the proposed map, is zoned agricultural or recreational, because that's what the majority of the use is, where with those two purple dots on there that represent Martinsburg and Canton, they tend to be more residential in nature, and so that's why they were identified specifically on the map. Yeah.
Someone had asked. Okay, and then on the how do you do the recreational? Because I know like Delaney Park's recreational, but then there's some other farmland that's also deemed. What's recreational mean?
Sure. So in the proposed zoning ordinance, there's basically a definition for each one of those zoning zones that are identified on the map. And I'm trying to get to recreational, so I'm just going to read from there. It's the recreational districts established to include and protect areas that are substantially wooded, scenic in nature, and have extensive public ownership. This district is located where there's little or no concentrated urbanization, or is likely concentrated urbanization has occurred or is likely to occur in the future. So when we were looking at the different parts of the county, those were the things that we were keeping in the back of our mind and trying to identify on the map to make the zones.
Well, okay. You're talking like 120 pages, or how many ever pages?
108 pages.
108. Okay, 108
plus
pages.
a table of contents.
Okay, 108 pages. This is a long time read, and then it's confusing for us that do not know this. If you're an S or a P, and then S's, I can't remember how it is. S's are
Special exception.
Explain what that is. That is where you.
That would be a rule that might require a variance. In other words, if it was contrary to something that might be in here that was not in the document, that didn't fall under the guidelines, and I don't know what would really be a good example. Help me out here.
Sure. So the way I look at a special exception is that you're wanting to do something in an area, or you're wanting to use the area in a way that wouldn't fall within that definition, like what I just read the example for recreational. And so because it's kind of out of the norm for that zoned area, you would need a special exception to do that. Doesn't mean that you can't ever do that. And so the way a special exception would work was that you would ask for the special exception, and the Board of Zoning Appeals, which is another group, would listen to why you should be able to do what it is that you want to do in that area. A lot of times a special exception is just listed as a special exception because of neighbors needing to be notified that you're planning to do something on your property.
So if you did a special exception, okay, so like let's say that I'm going to do a special exception. So I would have to, is this true? I'd have to notify my neighbors, 3 or 4 of my neighbors, and then I would have to go to the board and ask. Which, if I had a neighbor that, I mean, if just one voted it down, then it's a possibility that that would be my stopper, right?
Not necessarily. The Board of Zoning Appeals is going to make the final decision based on basically, what is right. People get some misconceptions about, well, I got to go ask permission for this, permission for that.
But you can see where they're coming. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, whenever I guess, Todd, to quote you,
yes,
you're going to tame the wild, wild west. I mean, you can see where we've not had this, and then it's
well, we've always had this.
Have we had it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's just once again. The reason, for instance, like one of the complaints I'm hearing is, well, I have to go get permission for everything. Well, if it might cause problems with your neighbor, then, or 2 or 3 neighbors, if something you're wanting to do is kind of out of the norm, and these are very rare and special exceptions where people would even need a variance, and I think we might get 1 or 2 variances a year at the most, and this document will not increase that amount. It's to protect the rights of the neighbors, so they know what's going on. There's noise. There's certain activities that maybe a neighbor says that, well, I don't want to hear that all night long. For instance, like at a home business, if you decided to start up a manufacturing business and you had a huge press that stamps steel or something like that and it's making noise all night long, that's probably not going to be a thing that your neighbors are going to like too much. So that's just an example, but these would be very, very extreme cases where you would even need a variance. And once again, it is to protect people and to make people aware of that we do have a few laws and rules, and everybody knows what the laws and rules are. So if everybody is aware of them, then I feel like neighbors might be able to get along just a little bit better if everybody is aware that everybody's rights need to be protected. And once again, it's not just about you, it's about your neighbors. We all need to live with good neighbors.
So if there was let's just say a manufacturer that for whatever reason wanted to put it, and it followed in the county, and possibly could bring jobs and possibly make an income for someone, for their family, that possibly could get, that if it was not zoned, if it was zoned in S, I'm learning, if it was zoned in S, then that's a possibility that it might not take place. Is that
no,
going to?
That wouldn't be the case.
Well, would that detour people to come to the county? I mean, to move here? You know what I'm saying? Would that? I know you're talking about taking care of people, and I'm all for taking care of our county, but would that also make for people not growth for our county?
No, because the person wanting to actually start a manufacturing business is going to come before the Planning Commission and the BZA anyway to present, their plans and ideas, and
So they would do that before they bought the land.
Yeah.
But
not necessarily, but
yeah.
But it would be part of their plan.
It would be part of their plan. So that's the thing. Just once again, we're trying to strike a happy medium. We want to make sure everybody's protected, but on the other hand, we certainly do not want to discourage any kind of growth. We need jobs, we need manufacturing, um, you know, and chances are, there are certain areas in the county that, it's very unlikely that a manufacturing plant is going to spring up in the middle of, a township that's, say, not near a town or near the highway, so to speak. But it could happen, and if it does, we'll certainly encourage it because we need that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wanted to go on to this too. When work has been done, about the comprehensive plan and what people love about this county, what are our assets and things like that. Agriculture and recreation are big parts of this community that we all love and want to continue in that way. And I think this document, some people have said that it's going to hurt those things, but in my opinion, the way this document's put together, it's going to protect those things. And so if I move into Washington County because I love the recreation, I love agriculture, I love all of these things, this document helps me be assured that it's going to stay that way. In some
what
ways.
do you, let me go back.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that possibly people are not feeling like this would protect them? What do you mean by that?
Right. So,
what would be their concerns? What are you hearing are their concerns?
So a lot of the concerns that I'm hearing are some of the misinformation. And so I guess I'll go with one related to livestock. People are saying that this document's going to prevent them from being able to have livestock, and Washington County is a big agricultural county. Washington County is the #1 beef producing county in the state. I think we're usually in the top 4 for sheep, poultry. We are proud of this livestock, and so this document does not do that.
Does it tell how many acres, though, you have to have per animal?
So the proposed document does have a section for that, and what I think we're struggling with a little bit is that you need to look at that zoning map and then go to the section of the document that talks about that zone, because the part of the livestock stuff that people are most concerned about are just for the purple dots that we've identified as residential, which was the Martinsburg Canton that we talked about earlier, where we have typically much smaller lot sizes, where raising livestock may be more problemsome if you have neighbors that are much closer than where if you are in the zone that's agriculture or recreation. There are no regulations outside of being a confined feeding operation. So as long as you don't meet that, there are no regulations for livestock in the ag zone or recreational.
It would probably be simpler if we just, in hindsight, just take that totally out of this document, because we're talking about Canton and Martinsburg.
Right, yeah.
Well, the reason for that is all these other places are incorporated towns. They have their own rules. Saltillo, Campbellsburg, Livonia, Little York. So if we just took that out, it may be a problem later. We don't know. But for instance, like Martinsburg was platted in 1818, and we all know back in those days they didn't require the need for a lateral field because there was no such thing as an indoor plumbing. So they had outhouses. So they're all, say, 1/4 acre lots. Well, I don't even know why we need to even mention that. That's just common sense. Nobody is going to try to put 20 cows on a 1/4 acre lot in the middle of downtown Martinsburg. So my thoughts would be to just maybe just do away with that. I mean, to me that's just common sense. Now, it could cause a problem if somebody decides they want 20 cows on a 1/4 acre lot. Then they'll be coming screaming and yelling at a commissioners meeting, why is my neighbor doing this? Well, we'll deal with it then. But I hope enough people have enough common sense, this will never happen. So I'm in favor of just taking that out, and when we do that, that will clear the air, and people won't get this misconception that they can't have livestock. There won't be any minimum acreage requirements. There never was anyway, which was misinformation in this document. It only affected Canton and Martinsburg. So if we take that out of the equation, then it would create less confusion, and I don't care how many animals you have on your farm, as long as they're healthy and safe and they don't do anything to disrupt your neighbor. So we are all very pro-agriculture on this board, and I'm not talking about big agriculture. I'm talking about small family farms. I'm talking about someone who has 5 acres, and they have small children. They want to raise some animals because I know everybody out here is not an animal lover, but I'm going to tell you something. It teaches young people responsibility, and it gives them a good work ethic.
Yeah, I don't think that's even on the table. I don't think people. I mean, we all love our animals, and I think we're all involved very heavily in 4-H in this community. So I don't think that's the topic at hand. I think the topic at hand was, I think people were concerned at if they did want to have 2 horses, or something on a one lot or whatever, or 2 cows on a one lot. I think that was where they had some concerns, and also piggybacking on that was the smell, or or possibly if a rooster's crowing at 3 o'clock in the morning. Are these things that are going to be dealt with, or a chicken farm or something? I think that's what people. I think we know we love our animals. I think it's just like, are these things that are being proposed on the table?
A chicken farm, for instance, and Danielle can speak to this, because that is one of the first things that was done. Gosh, how many years ago has that been? The confined feeding operations, that's already been addressed. That's been in effect for many, many years. So right. There have always been protections there. So,
So the Plain Commission, after hearing from many of the people in the community, did create a frequently asked question document, which is what I handed you right before we started. And that's now posted on the website, where you can find the proposed zoning ordinance. And that's the #1 question on the frequently asked questions. It says, if my neighbor complains more than 3 times about my farm animals, can I be fined? And that's just not true, and it's not included in this document. And we're unsure of where that concern potentially came from.
Okay, well, that's what we needed to know today. Okay.
Yes.
So so we've talked about the S. Now let's talk about the P in this. Okay.
Right.
So what are we? And that's not anything negative.
Right.
Because that's what. And what does the P stand for?
Means you can do it. It's permitted.
Permitted. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we have some of that spelled out in this too. So you see, I'm just trying to. It's confusing. The S's and the P's so it's permitted to do. And has there been any changes, or has that pretty well been the norm for the way business as usual in this county? Or have you permitted something new that has not?
It's not so much has it changed. It's not so much that it's new. It's more thinking along the lines of spelling it out and making it clear, because most of this we have already had in place. It just was not clear and concise, and a lot of it are the bare state minimums. The state of Indiana, for instance, swimming pools. We're not the ones that say you should have some sort of fence or pool cover on your swimming pool, and that your swimming pool can't be in your front yard. The state of Indiana says that. Mm-hmm. A lot of this document is simply mirroring, is just exactly what the state of Indiana tells us as counties that we must enforce. And that's a lot of this document. Now I want to change gears just a little bit here, and before I forget, this is part of the comprehensive plan. We are required to have some rules in this county to address these things. We're required by the state. And in order for us, a lot of times, to receive grants, things like that, a lot of times they won't even consider giving you a grant if you do not have a clear vision of what you think as a public servant, as a board member. What do you think your county plan is going to be in the future? We have to have a plan in moving forward. What do you want your county to look like? They look at us like, if you don't have a clear-cut plan for the future of your county, if you don't have some goals, why should we bother giving you grant money? You don't even have a plan. So that is a big part of this, and it's something that needs to be done. And I don't think that we need to go out here and have all these regulatory rules and laws, because I'm not in favor of that at all. And I want to keep that to a minimum. Now, I know some people don't think that, but I'll just share something personal with you. I'm the kind of guy that I hate to admit this, and I hope there's no law enforcement people listening, but I don't even like stopping at a stop sign. And I'll be honest with you, if there's nothing coming and I look 3 times both ways, many times I roll through a stop sign. Now, so I'm not one who really likes rules, even though, that's not a good example for our young people, but I'm just telling you the truth. So I'm not one who likes a lot of rules and regulations, but we need some. And I look forward to having some input from people in the community, because we need their help, don't we, Danielle? We need their help.
That's exactly why we have the public hearing, and that's why it's important for people to know what's in the document, so that when they come to the public hearing, we can have those conversations and answer questions and do those kinds of things and be as absolutely productive as possible. Can I piggyback off of one of the things that Todd said?
What you run stop signs to?
No, I am a rule follower.
Okay,
people know that about me. I am a rule follower.
You would never do that.
Okay.
No, never. But one thing that is good about this proposed zoning ordinance as well is that we're putting some of the things that are already in place in the county, we're combining them into one document so that it's easier for people to find the information that they need when it comes to these planning and zoning and type things that people are doing on their property. And so sometimes even somebody like me who's been on the Plan Commission for 12 years, when I go to find something, I still even struggle. Well, I know if I've been doing it for 12 years, somebody who it's their first time,
absolutely,
maybe. So that's one reason why I'm so excited about having a document like this, because it puts it all together, and it'll be easier for people to not have problems when they want to do something.
So could it have been, okay, so you've got like 13 different areas in this 108 page, which is a lot, and I feel for the people that, that's just trying to get homework, baths, and suppers, and and work, trying to make sure that, what's this going to mean to their family, what I mean, because everybody should, be aware of this, but is the 13, so like, did you sit down as a group and like, okay, we're going to do this one first, and was this like a one whole meeting, and then we're going to do this? How was the breakdown? And is this something that could be broke down a little bit more, I guess, make it a little more where you have some 13 different sections, so to speak, instead of like 108 book to read? And also it can be very difficult if you're not familiar, like what's this and why this, because I think a lot of people don't know this. I know I did not know this, and I'm learning about this, and I feel like I'm pretty involved in things, but it was difficult for me to read.
I don't
Yep.
see how you could. The only way you could condense it, in my opinion, one of our consultants, it has these things have to be addressed. Um, for instance, in this document, there's a section on sexually oriented businesses.
Yeah, what was that about?
Well, you know, once again, this isn't about today. This is about 5, 10, 20 years from now. Eventually, this would all come up. So why not put it in the document, spell it out, so everybody knows what they can and can't do. And this is one thing that our former consultant, this was part of what was proposed. I don't think it'll ever be an issue in the near future in this county, but guess what? It's in here, so now we don't have to worry about it. If something comes up and this issue rears its ugly head, then we have the rules to address it. That alone is about 5 pages. So there is a little what we call on the farm chaff. There's some chaff in here. Another one that is several pages is on signs. My biggest thing about road signs is blocking the view at intersections. Well, and it's a safety issue. Once again, safety. So that's in there. That is about 4 or 5 pages. So there are some things in here that are somewhat wordy and take up a few pages, but people need to understand this is for the future. Hopefully, this document will be good and serve us well for many, many years. And it'll have to be amended, I'm sure, but
So going back to what would be the percentage of where the state tells you? I mean, let's say on the 13 things where the state, how many, like, is 7 the state, and then, I mean, or how is that? How do you, and what's Washington County? What, like, how much input? What's the percentage? 70.
I have no
70%
idea.
from Washington County, because I'm hearing this is what we're here talking about. I've heard that the state really is not as involved in everything. That this is our county that's doing more of this. Is that fair to say?
No, that's highly inaccurate. The state regulates, and there are portions of state law in every aspect, in every chapter of this, and it's, you can't just point your finger and say, well, this particular section is mandated totally by the state.
Okay.
It's everything. You can ask anybody who's ever served in county government what the state's involvement is, and it's huge.
Right. Well, I just, because I is this something that is, that, like you said, you're going to have, but how much percentage is there? But you do have room that you can tweak or possibly, like you said, possibly take out, and you have some room to wiggle on that, right?
Yeah, we're open to, anything that the general public has a concern with, we're going to look at. We're not going to just ignore people. If they have a concern about a certain aspect of this document, the way it currently is written, then we're going to look at it and re-look at it, and we're going to discuss it, and we will discuss it in an open meeting, and we'll get it resolved.
Okay.
We're going to move forward. We're not going to stop work.
Okay.
We've worked too long and too hard.
Now, what about the enforcing this? How do we enforce it? Because I was told that it was not like law enforcement's not. This is not a. It's not civil, or is it? Is it how?
Some a very small portion. Yeah, would be law enforcement. Yeah, our building commissioner will be enforcing a lot of this, and I think you'll find that the citizens will, I'm sure they'll remind us if they have an issue with a neighbor or something. So,
Well, will that turn neighbor against neighbor? Will that cause some, like, like if
not if all the neighbors know the rules in the beginning, and as long as no one, does something they shouldn't be doing and respects their neighbors. That's the thing. Um, the best way for neighbors to get along is to respect one another.
I definitely believe that, but like for some reason, if Danielle, is there something about like possibly someone that drives a semi truck, if they park it in the, there's no restriction on where.
No.
Okay.
And I want to address one thing that's very important that we have got a lot of phone calls on. The people are saying that this document says that you can't have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 vehicles, for instance, that you're using for parts for the one you're driving. It's just ridiculous. I don't know where that ever came from, but I'm sorry, I'm getting a little upset. But the only thing this thing regulates is, if you do have, if you've got 20 or 30 parts vehicles, um, it's a requirement that you keep them behind a fence. That's all we ask. And I think that's a simple request because, obviously you don't want all these in your front yard. It kind of makes it difficult getting in and out of the house. And we just want people to keep in mind that, the neighbors have rights too. And I've had numerous phone calls on this matter, and nobody's saying you can't operate a business out of your home. Nobody's saying that you can't park anything you want in front of your home and work on it. That's a big misconception. I want to clear that up right now.
One of the things I wanted to do today was really talk about this frequently asked questions. I know we're about out of time if I look at my watch, and we can't go through them all. But we've hit on some of these already, but I really hope people will go and look at this document. And I'm trying to think if there are any specific ones that I want to draw attention to. But one of the things, I think there are a couple, but one of the things is, what if I'm already doing something that would be a special exception in this current document? And so there's this idea of being grandfathered, and I put those in quotes because that's how we talk about it. But that means that at the time that this document was approved, that what you were doing was completely legal, and so it becomes what we call legal non-conforming use, and it's fine to continue doing what you're doing. And so I think that's something that people are concerned about, something we talk about in this frequently asked questions. So if people have questions about that, please take a look at that document or get a hold of one of us so that we can expand.
Okay, so existing businesses, you're saying, will not be fined.
Oh, there's no fining involved at all.
Fine. Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay. They
It's
will be
okay.
fined.
There is
Okay,
no,
they're fining. Okay.
No, like they are able to just continue as
It's
they
anybody that possibly wants to start something new.
once this document is. But that's where you just look for those P's and those S's.
Yeah. Which can apply to, or can be, something to someone who might have concerns of
Sure.
down the future possibly
Yes.
wanting to do something.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's what we need to talk about
Right.
on February 4th.
Right. Okay, and so that meeting, how long will, are you going to give people?
2 minutes.
2 minutes? Okay.
Yeah.
And so, do they need to, let's explain anybody that
Okay,
is.
I'll just explain real quick. I know we're getting short on time. So, the way the format of the meeting is going to be, you'll come in. You do not have to request permission to come to the meeting in advance. You don't have to get on the agenda. Everybody is welcome. You walk in the door. You write down your name, contact information, your address, check a box that indicates whether you would like to speak, and everyone will be allowed 2 minutes to ask a question or give a comment and concern, and we will ask all the questions of all the people who have signed up, because there are going to be some questions that people ask that will be repetitive. So when everyone has asked their questions, we will kind of group together the questions that are similar in nature, and we will address things one issue at a time, and that's how the hearing will take place, and we will compile all the information. I'm sure every board member will be taking their own notes, and we will take note of everything. If in the end that there is someone who was moved in some manner about deciding that they didn't want to speak when they walked in the door, and they decide at the last minute toward the end of the meeting they would like to speak, if time allows, we will allow anyone who wants to say anything to speak, and everybody is going to have the right to say their piece, and that's what this is about. This is why we have a public hearing.
Okay, so it's kind of, so you're going to, like, okay, let's say I spoke, Danielle spoke, and then you're going to talk about it there as a board, or are you going to, again, take it later on to, like, your regular executive session or something, or like that, or is this going to be, like, are you taking each conversation
We don't have
and talk?
executive sessions. All of our meetings are open to
Okay,
the public.
so, so this is going to be, we're going to have a long night. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So, like, if I say something, then you as a group are going to do your inputs. Is that right at that point?
After everyone asks the questions.
Okay.
At the end of that, when all the questions are asked and every person who wants to speak has spoken or answered a question, we're going to compile the information, and we will address the subject matter, one subject at a time, because there will be several people in the room who probably will be asking the same question.
Right, sure.
So that's the way we're going to do it.
Okay, and if they want to read this before, what's the website? What do we go to? How do we get this information?
It's on the Washington County website.
Washington County, Indiana government.
Yep.
And then there's like a drop-down box, or on the side, depending on if you're on your phone or a computer, it says government, and then you can click Plan Commission, and it's the very top of the page. It says for public review, I believe. And then the documents, the frequently asked questions and the proposed ordinance are both linked under for public review.
Right. Okay. And Todd, you had said that there was a meeting, I did find out, on the 28th for people that are concerned. So you had asked me, and I did not know about that. I did not know about that.
I was interested in what people have to say, and they started a new Facebook group. I don't remember exactly what it's called. Washington County Ordinance 2025, and I understand they're having a meeting 7 o'clock Tuesday the 28th, I believe. Mm-hmm. I won't be attending. Well, I might stop by. But this is something I think the people need to know, that they need to say their piece. We live in a free country. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I look forward to working with people and getting this resolved.
All right. And the February the 4th meeting, it's going to be a large crowd. To say, are you going to move the meeting? Because I'm sure the fire...
Nobody knows how many people will be there.
Okay. If it is a large crowd, I'm sure you have fire code.
I have no intentions of moving the meeting.
How will you do that?
120 seats in the courthouse, and our intentions are to just leave the meeting at the courthouse for now.
Because I had heard a rumor say something that possibly you might move it. I just didn't know with that. So I guess
I never said that.
No, I'm why we're talking today. I didn't know if that would be something like, so if once you hit that 108, because I know fire code, you would have.
Well, see, we have no idea how many people will be there, so.
I'm just saying, if there was there? Okay, so. I guess
we'll see what happens.
They would be okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, our Commissioner Todd Ewing, coming in, and also over the Washington County zoning plan. Appreciate you coming in, and of course Danielle Walker, with the Purdue Extension, and thank you for coming in, and hopefully we've got people.
Big Fox Entertainment presents The Rick Burgess Show with Speedy, Greg Burgess, Eddie Van Adler, and Rick Burgess.
And here we are again, rolling.
In 6-piece.
If you've missed the show, my goodness, we've been here a while. You can go back and catch the archives either on the YouTube channel or the podcast channel. We've got Tales from the Camp House Business Summit, Episode 2, now available on the YouTube channel.